Sporting Lisbon have been scoring for fun this season, and watching their games it's easy to understand why. Ruben Amorim has created a system that allows them to attack with 5 or 6 players always on the defensive line, with constant rotations and free-flowing creative combinations in attack, meaning you never know which player is going to end up through on goal. But to understand what's so unique about Sporting Lisbon, we need to understand the hidden gaps that Amorim is able to exploit. Let's take a look. Ruben Amorim has been gaining a lot of praise for some.
I do have a question, and I don't know if it's already been addressed, but I just came here. Why would Amorim leave Sporting? He's doing super well right now. I did address it, but let me say this again. Look, every single manager that's gone on to do incredible things and is regarded as one of the greatest managers to grace this game have eventually taken the next step up and succeeded at a massive, massive institution. And that's no disrespect to Sporting, but Sporting, you can't stay your whole career at Sporting unless you win 6 Champions Leagues in a row and be, I don't know, written in the story of football globally. Like, you are going to be considered one of the best Portuguese managers, but long term, like, there's a cap. At the end of the day, the European giants like the Man Uniteds, and I say Man United even though they haven't been as good as they've been in previous years, that's still a massive footballing institution in Europe. Man United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Inter, like Bayern, like these are massive, massive sporting institutions. And for a guy like Amorim, he probably dreams of managing these teams. And in fact, if you guys see Sporting, they announced, like, it was confirmed, he had a release clause of 10 million for, I think, Real, Bayern, City, United, Barcelona, maybe there's another, maybe it was Liverpool. For any other club, it's 16 million. Meaning he probably told them in his contract, if any of these big teams come for me, you gotta let me go, or you gotta let me go for less money. That just shows you the guy has ambition to eventually take the next step up and coach a club of this stature. The second thing, let's be real, it's the money. It's the money, chat. And I don't know how much he's getting paid at Sporting, but you go to Manchester United, they're going to probably double your salary, minimum. It's just the way it is. It's the same reason. Why do great players still come to Man United? Well, triple your salary, bro.
Some time now, and it's easy to understand why a lot of big clubs are interested in making him their next manager. Sporting's extremely offensive possession football has taken them to the top of the Portuguese league, and are averaging an incredible 3 goals a game so far this season. But to understand how they want to create their chances, we first need to understand how they want to move up the pitch. While on paper Sporting line up in a 3-4-3, their offensive shape changes very frequently depending on how far up the pitch they are. And even during build-up, there are a number of different structures that emerge depending on the opposition and the players at their disposal. Amorim is a manager that wants to combine structure with fluidity, and we can instantly see that from build-up. The first rotation will see them start as a back 5 with the goalkeeper, and the most frequent rotation will see one centre-back moving into midfield as a central option. At times they will keep a narrow line of 3 outside the box, usually used as a decoy in order to force the opposition further forward and find space for a ball into the striker,
Football Meta,
whilst also giving each wingback good support in case they move it out wide. Here are a few examples of this deep line of 3 outside the box. Given there are 7 players in their own third, as the opposition pushes up, it leaves huge gaps in midfield that they will often exploit with long balls into the striker, who can then knock it down between the lines. Against Benfica, who used a zonal pressing structure, it left the press in 2 minds, given that as they circulate the ball to the opposite flank, they have a man advantage with the wingback that they can move down. However, in their more recent matches, the most common pattern has been a double pivot with one centre-back and the holding midfielder, with the other midfielder pushing up between the lines, and Sporting's first shape will resemble a 2-4-2-2, but the front 4 can rotate and move around depending on the opposition. This creates these 2 vertical lines in the half spaces, which are a crucial area Amorim wants to exploit. This space causes a lot of issues for the opposition, as if they decide to press man for man, it frees up space out wide for them to play the ball into. If the opposition sit back, then the wingbacks or the midfielders have space to receive the ball and move up the pitch. We can see this structure in their more recent matches. While one centre-back pushes forward, one midfielder, usually Morita, will push further up behind the opposition press. In their 2 matches against Atalanta, we can see this double pivot with the centre-back and the holding midfielder. The extra player further forward meant Atalanta would struggle to close down all the players, and they could often find space to push forward. While Sporting did lose this game, this was arguably not down to how they looked to build, and there were other issues Atalanta took advantage of that we'll cover later on in the video. Given Sporting's ability to find the free player, it means they can comfortably move into the opposition's half, and it's here where we can start to see the true brilliance of Amorim's rotations. As Sporting progress into midfield, the centre-back slowly slots into the back three, and the wing-backs push up. From this position, there is a mixture of fixed positional structure and more free-flowing roles to create patterns on the pitch. These structural positions don't need to necessarily be occupied by the player in that position, and Sporting will often rotate to fill those positions in different ways. But the main idea is that those areas of the pitch are always occupied by at least one player. This diamond build structure with 2 players between the lines and 2 players on the defensive line creates these vertical links from defense.
It just tells me though, chat, based on this, that this central guy right here, right in front of the center back with the ball, is the linchpin. And again, it's where I worry, who's that guy for Man United? Now, if you're telling me Ugarte was that guy for Amorim, hey, I gotta believe it worked because clearly the results were there. But I'm a little concerned, man. I'll be so real. I'm a little concerned about the fact that United don't really have a guy here that I would feel very comfortable with in the Premier League playing that kind of role. Amenya says these graphics are super neaky. I have to respect it. They look cold. Bro, I don't know how long it took for him to do all of this, but this is a crazy video, like editing wise, like insane.
And these chains are one of the most interesting ways Sporting create their chances. Their main idea is to get the ball into this central area, but to do so, they need the opposition to open up their shape. To do this, the key players are the wingbacks. While they are in support out wide, Sporting don't tend to play balls directly into them from defense. Rather, their position is nearly always used as a decoy,
center backs do most
forcing
of
the opposition to move out wide and
Yeah,
opening up
fair.
central passing lanes into the midfielders. If the opposition is playing with a high defensive line, then this is mostly when the wing-backs are used, as they will look to play them directly in behind before crossing it into the box. But even from this position, we can see how the opposition is forced to sit back to cover all the runs, and Sporting have the option of passes into the players in midfield. With the defenders in possession, the 2 wide centre-backs will slowly shift out wide, and are very patient in possession, shifting the ball from side to side and waiting for a gap to open up. In the meantime, the rest of the players will continue their rotations. It's also worth highlighting the slightly lopsided approach to their attacks, progressing down the left much more frequently compared to the other channels. This is also down to the role of Paulinho acting as the second striker and playing on the defensive line, compared to the right where Trincao is usually used in a deeper position. On the left, there are a lot of positional rotations that can occur. Another important thing to note is that the 3 defenders are extremely high in the opposition's half. This makes it easier for them to get a lot of players in close proximity, and it's this central overload where the majority of chances are created. Once the space is created for a central pass, the focal point of their attacks is the striker Gyokeres. Gyokeres is the league's top scorer with 22 goals, but also has 10 assists so far this season. His heat map highlights how he is extremely active all around the box, and is constantly making runs into the channels, which is reflected by his most dangerous passes, highlighting how the majority of his assists are from
Thank you for the
cutbacks
bits,
either
Richo boy.
side of the 6-yard box.
Appreciate you.
But with 22 goals, he is most dangerous when receiving these passes into the box. So far this season, he has the highest XG than any other player, with his shots reflecting how he is always ready to finish big chances around the 6-yard box. These central passes into the striker is where the true danger of this system starts to emerge. While these lines mean they have direct routes forward, once the ball is in this area, the close proximity of the players in midfield instantly comes alive, and there are a lot of different combinations that emerge. You often see the first pass forward being met with a dummy. Gyokeres lays it off, and they play the second striker in behind.
I could see that actually really succeeding, man. I'll be so real. When I think of Højlund being the linchpin right here, and that's the thing with Højlund, right? I don't know per se if he can't hold up the ball or if maybe United were isolating him so much up front, asking him to hold the ball, and then everybody comes up together as a unit. But if you're able to get players in and around Højlund in close proximity high up the pitch, if Højlund is making quick layoffs to the likes of Bruno, he's giving quick layoffs to the likes of Ahmad, and then all of those guys can kind of play together in a little quadrant like they're kind of displaying here, I could see that as being a potential route to success, man. Problem is, not a lot of Premier League teams offer you that space behind the line to run in on goal. That's true. That is a good point. That is a good point. But that's where you're also going to have to rely on the system to kind of be able to move teams around like that, right? Like baiting them in, stretching them out with your wingers. This is all hypothetical, right? It all depends on if Amorim's able to kind of translate his football into the Premier League. What if Licha plays as the linchpin central midfielder and Maguire is the left center back? I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. I think Lisandro will play at left center back, personally. I just think there could be issues defensively. But I think on the ball, if I'm hearing that progression from deep areas from the center backs is massively important, Lisandro is going to be vital for that. So now I'm not even turning to a tactic over. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to learn the Amorim game, man. That's what I'm trying to do.
Behind. On other occasions, Paulinho will drop off the defense, layer off and attack in behind before cutting back across the goal. The main objective is
Appreciate
to
you,
free up a
Erich.
player
Appreciate
either
you, man.
in the
Take care.
half space or in the center to create an opportunity as quickly as possible, and is why they rank high for cutbacks and through balls in the league, as they are constantly finding players ready to make a run in behind. There are countless examples of these patterns emerging. Some of my favourites were from their recent 6-1 thrashing of Boavista, with quick combinations on the edge of the box, and every time it's a different player that ends up
Gyokeres is a
through on
beast,
goal.
though, huh? Wow.
Another great example is their goal against Atalanta. As a futsal player myself, this goal was heavily reminiscent of futsal tactics.
Yeah, Gyokeres
with
is
a
a
ball
monster,
forward
man.
into
Huh?
the pivot and
Wow. Gyokeres is huge. If you're the thank you for the bits, by the way, Richo boy. If you're the manager, who's the first player you try to get for the next transfer window? The first player, maybe this Holman guy, man. Honestly, we need a holding. We need a. I say we need a midfielder, but realistic. Yeah, I would go for a holding midfielder. But also, I think United needs a really top left-sided player. I think they really need a left-sided player. I think Shaw is too unreliable. Malacia, God knows of that guy. And I don't think you can continue with this. Dallo and Mazraoui are alternating between right back and left back. So yeah, I would say a left-sided player and then a midfielder as well too. A midfielder as well.
Plays it off into a player overlapping into the space. Furthermore, given this density of players, if they reset their attack and move the ball
Nori,
back,
I think, would actually
they now
thrive in this kind of
indirectly
setup.
end up with 5 or 6 players on the defensive line, and it's not uncommon to see the defenders instantly look for a ball over the top. It follows this subtle revolution that is taking place
Bro,
in
Gyokeres
modern
looks
football,
crazy.
with more and more managers embracing this idea of tight combinations and overloads wherever you
We
need
need buyback for
This
Alvaro
cluster of
Fernandez. I think
players
that's going to
in the
happen,
center
chat. I'll be
does
so
often
real.
mean the
With
opposition
Ten Hag or
will
not, I think they're
tighten
going to
their
buy him
shape
back.
as much as possible. And it's in these situations where they then start to use their wingbacks for more attack. You often see Sporting regaining possession in the opposition's half on one flank, and quickly switch play to the opposite wingback, who now has support to play the inside forward into the half space. Their winning goal against Firenze highlights these movements. As they switch into the right, the wingback in this situation attacks into the half space, before quickly knocking it across the goal for a tap-in. Amorim's tactics are proving to be the perfect blend of structure and fluidity, and Sporting Lisbon have been one of the most exciting teams this season. However, while their defensive record is also very impressive, their exit to Atalanta in the Europa League does highlight some issues the team often faces.
Good. I want to see this. I don't
Firstly,
like tacticians, or I don't like these videos where it's just pro. Because highlights, you can look good in highlights. I want to see now what's the downfalls of Amorim? What's the tactical mishaps? This I'm interested in hearing.
Nature of the wingbacks does mean that there is often space out wide for the opposition to exploit, and they're not the best at stopping counterattacks, ranking 14th in the Portuguese league for XG conceded from counters. However, one of the areas that leaves them the most exposed is down to this reliance on moving the ball centrally. While if successful, we've seen how dangerous these passes through the middle can be, if intercepted, they can suddenly find themselves in a lot of trouble trying to track back to cover. The goal that saw them get knocked out of the Europa League came exactly from this type of situation, with an intercepted central pass, and all of a sudden they find themselves exposed at the back. Given everything we've spoken about today, I'm curious
That
to know
means,
what
by the
team
way,
think
you
would-
need very athletic center backs to cover those transitions, and you need guys on either side, bro. These guys are gonna have to be machines in terms of just going up and down, up and down. These guys are gonna have to be machines, man. Huh. Okay, that's good to know, though. That's good to know.
benefit the
Licha's
most
gone,
from
bro.
appointing Amorim as their next manager? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, why not check out this video on how Antoine Griezmann created his own free roll.
Good channel. I like that video. Brathwaite. That's a world-class video. Honestly, this guy's a really good creator. Go check him out. His YouTube is Football Meta. Go check out his other stuff. Overall, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm weary. Not weary, right? But I'm not getting carried away. Especially because I was scorned by Ten Hag, man. I was a big fan of Ten Hag when we hired him. And obviously, we know how that kind of played out. So I'm weary about the fact that, look, a lot of good managers, or a lot of managers with previous track records have come to United, and it hasn't worked whatsoever. But the early signs are encouraging. I love the fact that his personality and his ability to kind of translate the message he wants to get across at a high level. I'm really happy about that. But let's see how it plays out, man. Let's see how it plays out. When do you think his first game is going to be? I hope it's going to Chelsea. Or maybe they say Chelsea, it's like we chalk that game up and we give him like an easy game for his first one.